imagine being too liberal for California? That's these two dumb DAs in a nutshell. Chesa Boudin will learn his fate tomorrow, and with any luck, George Gascon will find out in November whether or not he gets the boot as well. So where did these boneheads go wrong? Here with me now, former U.S. Assistant Attorney General and candidate for California Attorney General Nathan Hochman joins me now. Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you. Great to be on.
So what is it about these two DAs? I mean, essentially, they are the poster children for so much that has gone wrong in the criminal justice reform movement. And what they are actually doing is setting the movement back by being so soft on people who commit atrocious felonies and truly mean to do others harm.
And that's exactly right. What these DAs have done is adopt a far-left criminal justice philosophy that believes that violent and serious offenders should not be put in jail for the full extent of the law, and then they should be let out before they've completed their entire sentences. They believe sort of that crime should not have consequences, that you could actually get arrested in the morning and have no cash bail and be released in the afternoon. And if this was working, terrific, but the statistics don't lie. We've been faced with exploding violent and street crime in California all over the state, homelessness at an all-time high, and even fentanyl poisonings that are going to kill thousands of Californians this year that didn't even exist, years ago. So each one of these DAs have gone in the complete wrong direction.
Yeah, and you had pointed out that in 2014, these cities were among some of the safest big cities in the country, and now in 2022, they are among the least safe, and people feel that way. So, the perception that people don't have the full safety that they should wherever they live, that really affects whether or not people move out, and they're really starting to. San Francisco has already lost about 7% of its population during the pandemic, but according to the polling, almost half the city wants to leave. So if you become California's Attorney General, what can you actually do? I mean, it's nice to go on TV and say things and claim you're going to solve problems. We know that politicians can make things worse. You're not a Democrat in a monoparty state. How could you make it better?
Well, here's how I can make it better. Under the California Constitution, the California Attorney General is the chief law enforcement officer of the state. That means that you're basically like a super DA, and you can come into any jurisdiction, any one of the 58 counties, and take over a prosecution if you believe that that prosecutor is not doing his or her job. I would do that in Los Angeles with Gascon. I would do it in San Francisco with Boudin, because what they have created is the spiral of lawlessness, where one person can steal just under $950 and run out of a store, which has led to 3 people running out of a store, 80 people running out of a Nordstrom's, smash and grab robberies, follow home robberies, double-digit rise in homicide. I would stop this spiral of lawlessness and turn it into a spiral of lawfulness, where we would bring back the idea that the police should be partners with us, that we should fund the police forces, and a common sense notion that crime should have consequences.
How do you get the police back on the same page as the DAs? Because, that's not something that's just unique to San Francisco and Los Angeles. That's happening across the country. But that is what is creating so much chaos and a lack of safety in communities where they need to be able to access cops when they pick up the phone to call 911. And you can't do that if you don't have proactive policing. And you can't have proactive policing if the police are demonized by the very aspects of government that are there to support them.
And that's just it. You need to reverse that demonization as well. And I would let the police know from the first day I was in office that Nathan Hochman is their Attorney General for California, that the police have a partner in Sacramento. And I believe what that would do is then unlock all the police officers and all the deputy district attorneys that want to do their job. I'm sure you know the statistic that in Los Angeles, 97.8% of the deputy district attorneys voted to support the recall of their boss, George Gascon.
Yeah.
They just need a California Attorney General who unlock their ability to do their job, both at the police level and the district attorney level, and I would be that California Attorney General.
Well, we'll see what happens, because I don't think it's looking good for George Gascon, because, you know, guess what? Crime isn't going to go in the direction that is favorable to citizens of Los Angeles over the summer and into the fall, and they're going to be fed up with it. You know, add to that all the national problems that are affecting them, like high inflation, and people are sick of it. In a lot of cities, they don't have a recall mechanism. They do in California. It hasn't been enough to keep politicians on their toes and in the lanes, but, you know, I hope that there is a big push for rationality away from these emotionalist DAs like Gascon and Boudin. Good luck with your race. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you very much.